Next week, the leaders of the BRICS countries will meet in China for the group's 9th summit under the theme BRICS, Stronger Partnership for a Brighter Future. The summit would be in line with the annual practice to enhance cooperation among themselves and also to really discuss issues that are of common concerns. Yesterday, the South African Institute of International Affairs held a discussion taking stock of the BRICS relations since South Africa joined in 2010. Joining us now to take this discussion further is Cyril Prinsloo from the SAIIA. Prince, good morning. Cyril Prince, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Morning.
Thank you so much indeed. I think really we really just want to take stock and look back since South Africa joined in BRICS in 2010. Are we really seeing any results?
Absolutely. As you suggested, you know, the BRICS have been working closely together for nearly a decade now. Yeah. I think one of the BRICS' key achievements is establishing the new development bank. It's a bank that looks to finance infrastructure, not only in the BRICS countries, but eventually in other developing countries as well. It's a bank that looks at new ways of financing infrastructure that better responds to the needs of developing countries. And I think that's a significant achievement of the BRICS over the past decade.
But I think one worrying fact is that we've actually heard of the informal talks that South Africa will be approaching the IMF for funding. And one would actually wonder, why should they go the IMF route, whereas there is a new bank within BRICS countries?
Absolutely. I mean, within the BRICS Cooperation Forum, there is an IMF equivalent that South Africa can reach out to. Having said that, I think not only for South Africa, but for all of the BRICS, 2017, we actually see the economies reigniting again. We see Brazil coming out of a recession. We see Russia coming out of a recession. And the IMF is forecasting growth, albeit slow. But again, for South Africa, just under about 1% for 2017, projecting it to go up to 2% in the next 5 years.
But will that really happen? I mean, if you look at the current economic growth, it was what, according to SAIIA, 0.3%?
Absolutely. Again, like I said, forecasts looking up. I think what we have to remember, yes, there's some domestic factors that account for the slow growth in South Africa, but also internationally, we see that the international economy is reviving. Countries are trading more, producing more, which create demand for not only for South Africa's goods, for all goods, which is certainly another factor that will help South Africa reignite growth in our own country.
And I remember very well when we joined in as South Africa, a lot of people, mainly your experts and economists, were very excited. In fact, there was hype around this issue. People saying that, you know, we're going to be benefiting a lot as South Africa. Have you really seen the results? Are we starting to see the results of being part of BRICS?
Absolutely. I think what we have to remember, when South Africa joined 2010, it was just after the global recession. Many of our key trading partners, such as the European countries, such as America, were experiencing very slow growth. So the BRICS was actually helped South Africa diversify their markets. I mean, trade has grown phenomenally over the past 10 years between South Africa and its BRICS partners, mainly China. Having said that, if we look at the structure of trade between South Africa and its BRICS partners, we still predominantly export primary commodities, raw minerals, rather than manufactured goods. Yeah. Of course, ideal for us in terms of job creation, in terms of poverty alleviation, we want to export manufactured goods as well to these countries. And that's really an issue that South Africa is driving very hard within BRICS cooperation.
Yeah, so we're exporting and importing final goods. Absolutely. But now, let's just go back to the China issue. In 2015, President Jacob Zuma and China signed 26 agreements worth of 94 billion rand. Have we been seeing the fruits of those agreements between these two countries in 2 years, if we take a look at our economy?
I think what we have to keep in mind is that investment from BRICS, intra-BRICS investment, is not really reflecting yet. The latest figures from the Reserve Bank shows that intra-BRICS investment is not particularly high. And I think that's a key issue for the BRICS to pursue going forward. I mean, if you enhance investment ties between the countries, you'll have stronger trade ties. That will also look to address the issue we just spoke about, where there's an inequitable trading relationship. So certainly, and I think South Africa has made a positive step in establishing a one-stop shop for investors, Invest SA, making it easier for investors, not only from the BRICS, but from all countries, to come to South Africa to invest here.
But what needs to be done, Cyril, in terms of strengthening our economy here in South Africa? I mean, India is currently one of the world's fastest growing economy. What's there to learn? What can we learn from them?
Again, I think when we look at South Africa, we have to factor in both domestic issues and international issues. Again, we see international issues finally improving after years of kind of sluggish growth. And then domestically, I think as I just mentioned, the one-stop shop for investment is very significant in the way that it will help investors to come to South Africa. And I think we need to keep on leveraging South Africa's economic relations with countries, not only the BRICS, equally with our African counterparts, equally with the European Union, as well as the US.
All right. Now, news coming in this morning, Cyril, is that China has aborted its attempt to create a permanent BRICS Plus feature for other nations. Are you surprised that this happened?
Look, when South Africa hosted the BRICS in 2013, they started this tradition of inviting regional member countries. That tradition has since been followed by Russia, last year India as well, and it was certainly expected of China to follow a similar initiative this year. What China has done, though, is invite members not only from the region, but actually from across the continent. Other BRICS members have not necessarily been supportive of this idea. Some of them feel it's too early.
India was one of those, All right. No, we have to leave it at that, but thank you so much for coming through. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Let's take a break here on Morning Live. When we come back, your 8 o'clock news bulletin follows. Stay tuned.